National Policy Council of the Arab American Institute, and joins me now live from the US Capitol. Welcome, Omar. So I want to ask you firstly, how does Qatar need to respond here at this point, and does it have leverage to appeal for support from its allies?
Yeah, Qatar has limited leverage in this moment. Ultimately, you have Israel. I mean, it's quite clear that what Israel just did in Doha is a natural consequence of a culture of impunity that was provided for Israel by the United States. For literally decades, illegal occupation and apartheid and land theft was allowed to continue. And in the last couple of years, we've seen just an absolute horror unfold in Gaza, a full-on genocide, a record number of killing of journalists, a record number of killing of medics. And when you allow a country to behave in that fashion without accountability, it is simply a natural consequence that they're going to continue essentially operating in a more brazen way throughout the region. And they were looking for spectacle in Doha, simply to send a message that Israel owns the region, it is in charge, and it's going to terrorize anybody who opposes them into submission. That is the purpose of it. And the question is anybody in the region going to actually stand up and do something meaningful? And right now, it is difficult to see something that is likely to be strong enough to befit the seriousness of this crime. I think most of the region is still too concerned about falling out with Trump. They're too concerned on getting on the United States' bad side. And that means that they're going to probably restrict themselves to some words of condemnation. But ultimately, this is going to be a serious test for every actor in the region about whether they're going to put up with a rogue state that is completely out of control, that is behaving in a way that, frankly, it's just difficult to find the words that are adequate, not just violations of international law, but saying that they can kill whoever they want, wherever they want throughout the region, and that nobody's allowed to object. That is not a sustainable status quo, and we're pushing ourselves eventually to a much bigger conflagration if nobody puts an end to it.
And Omar, Qatar's Prime Minister said that Israel's aggression means very little is left to build the peace process on. What does this attack mean for Qatar's mediator role for the Gaza conflict?
Beyond even just a mediator role, I think it's pretty clear that Israel was never interested in reaching a deal. And that is what is becoming more and more clear every single day. For many months now, and in fact, pretty close to 2 years, it was clear that Hamas was willing to give up all the hostages and more recently to give up its governing role in Gaza in exchange for an end to this genocide. And every time there has been more pressure applied on Hamas, and it looked like a deal might be close when they're willing to make even greater concessions, Israel would find a reason to get out of it. They would either carry out significant assassinations or major bombings of Gaza. And this is all designed specifically in order to avoid the possibility of a negotiated solution, because that's not what they want. Israel wants to pretend that they're interested in a deal in which they would get the hostages back. But what they're really interested in is eliminating Palestinians from the entire land of occupied Palestine. That includes the West Bank, and right now focused on Gaza in particular, which means that they're only interested in the pretense of negotiations while their actual plan is to finish the genocide and the ethnic cleansing. And that is the obstacle at the end of the day, is that any sign that there's going to be the possibility of a partner or negotiations or coming close to a deal are all threats from Israel's perspective to the effort to finish this ethnic cleansing and genocide. And frankly, they're not interested in the hostages. That's very much an afterthought. Trump claims that he's interested in getting the hostages back, but it's quite obvious from the way Israel is behaving that that is absolutely not a priority for the Israeli government.
Omar Baddar, member of the National Policy Council of the Arab American Institute. Thank you so much for that analysis.